General Ali Kefi, who was forced out of the Nigerian army for exposing his colleagues' involvement with terror financing, disclosed this in a letter to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which also detailed his arrest, detention, and compulsory retirement. Former General Officer Commanding GOC 1 Mechanized Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Ali Kefi, has revealed that terrorism financing, procurement and movement of arms and ammunition for Boko Haram and other criminal elements have links to the military. General Ali Kefi, who was forced out of the army for exposing his colleagues' involvement with terror financing, disclosed this in a letter to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which also detailed his arrest, detention, and compulsory retirement. The most worrisome aspect was that some of the individuals involved in terrorism financing of Boko Haram terrorists and who were also involved in procurement and movement of arms and ammunition for Boko Haram and other criminal organizations had links with the military, he stated. General Ali Kefi, who headed Operation Service-Wide (OPS) set up by former President Muhammadu Buhari to investigate those involved in terrorism financing, said his arrest, detention, and compulsory retirement followed the report of his team, which exposed the involvement of senior government official, a top banker, and top military brass in terrorism financing. General Ali Kefi, in the letter published by this day newspaper, revealed that he headed a presidential investigative task force instituted Board of Inquiry (BOI) convened by Major General B.M. Mongono, retired, the former National Security Advisor (NSA), which sat in the office of the National Security Advisor for 5 weeks from early January to late February 2020. I was the president of the BOI with members and secretary drawn from the NCS, NIS, DSS, NIA, ONSA, NFIU, as well as from the Board of Inquiry, which largely conducted its work as an investigative body tasked to investigate circumstances surrounding the illegal smuggling of petroleum products contained in 168 oil tankers into Benin Republic through a single smuggling route in Ilesa Babara in Kwara State, he said. He further stated that the BIO went further to uncover 295 oil tankers that conveyed premium motor spirit and the major smugglers identified. The petition stated that the BOI made a significant discovery regarding the relationship between the smuggling racket, the terrorism besetting the northeast, and the banditry/kidnapping for ransom, which was at its formative stage in the northwest and part of north-central geopolitical zone. This, he claimed, included the illegal mining of minerals in the northwest and north-central, and large-scale laundering of mostly funds meant for counter-terrorism/insurgency operations that were ongoing mostly in the northern region of the country. A syndicate which had extensive network in the country as well as being affiliated to international criminal network was as the center of moving finances for terrorism for other criminal activities stated above, he said. He added, it was thus apparent that terrorism and insurgency in the northeast, northwest, and north-central were a criminal enterprise and were largely undertaken with profit rather than any ideology as the primary motive. Thus, we at the BOI arrive at the obvious conclusion that progress cannot be achieved except the financier, collaborators, supporters, and the leadership of the terrorist and insurgent groups are identified and the network dismantled, he said. The petitioner said recommendations on the findings were made and submitted to the presidency but were swept under the carpet because of the powerful individuals involved. The petition said the operation successfully infiltrated the leadership of terror groups in the northeast, which culminated in their dissemination, adding that key terrorism financiers were linked to the individuals convicted for terror financing in the United Arab Emirates. The petitioner noted that trouble started when the task force became victims of unfair attacks, including starvation of fundings for its operations. This substantiates the argument that some powerful persons in and outside government, as well as from the military, were uncomfortable with the task force, and specifically my humble self as commander, he said. The petitioner said the death of Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atahiru, under whose tenure he served as GOC, dealt a blow to the task force as the new army chief. Lieutenant Farouk Yahaya removed him as GOC 1 Mechanized Division, Kaduna. He noted that subsequently, the presidency, the AGF, became less helpful. According to him, the entire episode culminated in his arrest and detention for 64 days in solitary confinement, where he slept on the floor with consequent health implications. He lamented that the most painful part of his experience was that President Buhari, who approved his headship of the task force, did not come to his rescue. Begging President Tinubu for his intervention on the matter, he said, "Kindly cause an investigation into the circumstances surrounding my arrest, detention, maltreatment, and compulsory retirement from the Nigerian Army." He also sought a review of his compulsory retirement from the Army and that it should be committed to voluntary retirement, as well as approve compensation for the expenditure incurred by the task force in hiring vehicles and quarters. This should include compensation for the pains and injuries suffered under incarcerated and approval of personal security, he stated. He further concluded by saying that terrorism, Boko Haram, banditry, kidnapping will never stop in Nigeria unless those military heads, top government officials that are sponsoring and financing these terrorists are being arrested and put behind bars. That is when terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping will stop in Nigeria.